I'm going to start with an excerpt from my new book, Green Hell, How Environmentalists Plan to Control Your Life and What You Can Do to Stop Them. I will then conclude my presentation with the book's take-home message. By the way, if you're interested in daily updates about how environmentalists plan to control your life and what you can do about it, I encourage you to visit the website I set up for Green Hell, greenhellblog.com. So here goes. Move over, red, white, and blue. America is going green. Green energy, green technology, green homes, green cars, green jobs, green commerce, green living, green government, green laptops, green pet food, green pets, even green toilets and green toilet paper. Our first green president, Barack Obama, promises to lead America to greener pastures. You can color our future green. If you're not already sick of the word green, you soon will be. The green vision goes something like this. We are going to live in a sustainable manner and be kind to the planet. We will shrink our carbon footprints, eventually becoming carbon neutral. Thinking globally and acting locally, we will stop climate from changing and protect wildlife and the wilderness from man's evil ways. We will end our addiction to oil by repowering America with clean, renewable energy. Nay, we will reinvent energy. Our goal is a healthy and just planet where planned and permitted people live in harmony with nature. But perhaps, unlike others in a mad rush to start bicycling, recycling, and carbon decycling, you've been distracted from the greening of America by the many other crises and controversies our nation is facing. The global financial meltdown, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Islamic terrorism, spiraling healthcare costs, illegal immigration, and so on. They are indeed a formidable lot. That said, it's time you recognize that a great green tsunami is heading your way, threatening to wash away your standard of living and many of your liberties. Like many Americans, your sense of the green movement may be that it simply advocates small lifestyle changes to benefit the environment. But the green agenda is, in fact, much more ambitious. It promotes countless new restrictions and regulations designed to reorder society from top to bottom. And so the Greens bombard us with an endless list of do's and don'ts. Take cold showers, turn the heat down, use less air conditioning, dry your clothes on a clothesline, drive small fuel-efficient vehicles. Better yet, stop driving altogether. Avoid imported or non-locally grown food. Bring your own bags to the supermarket. Buy energy-efficient light bulbs. Pay more for green electricity. Pay more for gasoline. Shun bottled water and drive-through restaurants. Use cloth diapers. Don't use Charmin. Clean your house with natural products. Turn your dogs and cats into vegans. Give up your yard. Forget about horizontal living in the suburbs. Vertical living in urban areas is for you. Now, all these admonitions have something in common. You living on a smaller, more inconvenient, more uncomfortable, more expensive, less enjoyable, less free, less dignified, and less hopeful scale. And the Greens' moral hectoring is just the beginning. Green ideologues are bursting with an impatient zeal to begin dictating by force of law your mobility, diet, home energy usage, the size of your house, how far you can travel, and even how many children you can have. You may be tempted to dismiss all this as gross exaggeration, but this is how the Greens themselves describe their intentions. Their words alone reveal their true intent: to curtail, to ration, to force, to deny, to compel, and to squeeze. Make no mistake, living green is really about someone else micro-regulating you, downsizing your dreams, and plugging each one of us into a brand new social order we never bargained for. It's about you living under the green thumb and having the boundaries of your life drawn by others. The central concept of green hell is that there is no area of your life, not one tiny parcel of your day-to-day existence, that the Greens consider off-limits to intrusion. There is no personal behavior of yours that they consider too trivial or too sacrosanct to regulate. The Greens aim to bring about their brave new world through federal law or local ordinance. But where that's not practical, they'll settle for inducing artificial shortages, pricing you out of your bad habits by hiking taxes and imposing surcharges, or simply by trying to condition you and those around you to believe that you are engaging in an act of severe personal transgression. The Greens justify all this as necessary to solve our alleged planetary emergency. But they don't intend for you to live this downsized and penitent lifestyle for some finite period of time until the supposed crisis is over. It is to be a permanent restructuring of life as you know it. Throughout Green Hell, you will encounter up close and personal the myriad encroachments and invasive oversight mechanisms of your day-to-day life that are lurking behind that shiny, seductive label that reads green. A powerful network of individuals and organizations is propelling this agenda. Its adherents have sought for decades to transform our economy and our way of life based on various environmental pretexts: looming food shortages, deforestation, population growth, even global cooling. Man-made global warming is simply their latest and by far their most successful organized campaign to achieve this transformation. These activists are now found throughout our federal, state, and local governments and regulatory agencies, and in our courtrooms, boardrooms, and classrooms. Though most work in relative anonymity, they also have outspoken political activists in their ranks, the most vocal of these being Al Gore. But there is a vast and multi-layered network of organizations working to advance the ball downfield for the Greens. From the Earth Liberation Front, an FBI-labeled terrorist group, to street theater groups like Greenpeace and the Rainforest Action Network, to suit-and-tie mainstream activist groups like the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Environmental Defense Fund, to old money private foundations like the Rockefeller Foundation and the Pew Charitable Trusts, the Greens are able to muster whatever forces are needed: thugs, protesters, lawyers, and elites, respectively. Serious money makes it all work. The 10 largest Green groups had revenues of more than $1.36 billion in 2007 and net assets of $7.1 billion. The Green workhorses are the Natural Resources Defense Council, $88 million in annual revenue and $167 million in assets, according to Forbes. And the Environmental Defense Fund, $83 million in annual revenue and $108 million in assets. I just want to digress here for a moment from Green Hell. Just to give you an idea of how much money this is, if you compare this to the Heritage Foundation, which is the largest conservative think tank, both the Environmental Defense Fund and Natural Resources Defense Council have greater revenues and greater assets than Heritage, while Heritage focuses on many different issues affecting our lives. The Greens only focus on one issue, okay? And finally, the Green groups, the Environmental Defense Fund and Natural Resources Defense Council, are the smallest of the Green groups, okay? The smallest. So that gives you an idea of what we're up against. Back to Green Hell. These two groups are the core of the Green Army. They serve as brain trusts, law and lobbying firms, organizational bridges between limousine Greens and the street ruffians, and flypaper for celebrities like wannabe Greens like Barbara Streisand of the Environmental Defense Fund and Leonardo DiCaprio of the Natural Resources Defense Council. Adding to the mix are the rent-seeking big businesses that are now carrying the ball for the Greens, including companies like General Electric, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Dow Chemical, DuPont, Caterpillar, Alcoa, Pepsi, and many others that are lobbying for global warming legislation. They all expect to profit either from taxpayer subsidies or laws and regulations that force consumers to purchase overpriced products that they would otherwise ordinarily shun. One of the most socially inequitable aspects of this movement is that as the ever-rising Green establishment gains more and more power over your life, its members are devising lots of nifty loopholes, exemptions, and free passes for their rich and powerful friends and allies who've helped them further their political agenda into the mainstream so that they can escape your fate. Al Gore wants you to dry your clothes on an outdoor clothesline to save energy, but you can be sure that when he gets out of his indoor swimming pool that costs $600 a month to heat, he won't be doing the same thing. It seems that 200-plus years of the technological innovation, free market-driven prosperity, and individual freedoms that have defined America's unique place in the world and have drawn countless generations of immigrants to our shores in search of a better life have not impressed the Greens. They plan to diminish the famous geographic, social, and economic mobility of Americans, the very things that have always made us feel that anything is possible. They are keen to reverse our noble advancements in producing more goods and services at less cost. They rail against economic growth as a blight upon society and the planet. They applaud technological retrogression as a virtue and seek to resurrect windmills, clotheslines, iceboxes, and even zeppelins. But is there some merit to their argument? What if the planet truly has a fever that portends worldwide destruction? Shouldn't we heed their warnings? While it's beyond the scope of Green Hell to debunk the scientific claims of global warming alarmists, we'll take a brief moment here to note the fatal flaw of global warming alarmism. There is no scientific evidence indicating that carbon dioxide, much less man-made carbon dioxide emissions, control or even measurably impact the climate. This is true whether you look at data going back 650,000 years from the data from the 20th century or even data from the past 10 years. Alarmist predictions of climatic doom are based exclusively on hypothetical mathematical models that have never been validated against the real world. So it's no wonder the Greens are resorting to procedural hijinks like touting an imaginary United Nations consensus on global warming endorsed by 2,000 scientists, while ignoring a petition signed by more than 31,000 American scientists rejecting global warming alarmism. Then there's the infamous hockey stick graph. which the UN and other alarmists often cited as the key evidence of a dramatic rise in temperatures during the 20th century, until the graph was discredited by its methodological flaws.